So AR45 domains are currently the highest difficulty in the game right now, so this guide is going to help you clear them efficiently without doing co-op. And I'll also give you my most practical tips for each domain and the general strategy to farm them under 1 to 2 minutes. And before you say that I have like plenty of 5-star characters to make this easy, I have adjusted this guide to give a bit more generalization for F2P players. I will also point out specific characters that are simply too valuable to not talk about, because even F2P players have Diluc or Venti or Zhongli or whoever else. But the main idea of this video is going to be about the overall strategy and concept of each domain. So before I talk about the Noblesse Oblige domain, credits goes to Windranger on YouTube for this idea, and I simply just added some of my own improvements to this strategy. So the concept of this strategy is simple and it may require a bit of practice, but it is just so much easier than doing it normally. You just want to run straight and turn left when you're reaching near the end, and go to this exact spot right here. How I remember this spot is by standing in between the two blue lights at this corner, and on the floor markings you can see that I'm standing on the left curve, or like, you know, whatever you call this. Anyway, once you get to this position, you're just gonna face the wall in front, and after a while all the mages should teleport and appear in front of you. If there aren't at least 2 mages that teleport here, then it means that you weren't in the right spot or you were facing elsewhere. After they get here, you're just gonna use swirls to break their shields, and you also want a character who can give yourself a shield, because while you're casting, swirls, you're most likely going to take heavy damage. The Anemo MC skill is not enough to fully break their shields sometimes, so I used Kutsing, or rather you can use any other skills to break the remaining shields. Also, Electro and Geo characters do have an advantage because they can chip down any of these shields. Sometimes not all the mages teleport to you, so your priority should be to at least deal with the Pyro and Cryo mages first, then deal with the Hydro mage later on. So that's the strategy for this domain, and some great characters to run here are the Anemo MC as explained, as well as Diona or TT because of their heals and also being Cryo, which will help to break the Hydro shield since it's like the toughest. There's also Zhongli for his shield, and also his Petrify goes through the enemy shields, making these runs a lot safer, and I literally just don't even die here anymore. Noelle is also a good character for these reasons, and if you need more souls, you can actually just get any other Anemo characters, or if you didn't really build up your Traveler. As for the Crimson Witch domain, I wouldn't recommend using Pyro or Electro characters here unless you bring another DPS along, like how I bring both Kutsing and Child in this clip. Pyro doesn't work very well here because the enemies are Pyro in general, and they also get Pyro buffs every now and then. Electro can be pretty dangerous if you only bring one Electro DPS, because triggering Overload does a ton of damage to yourself in this domain specifically. The obvious choices here for DPS are any Hydro or Cryo characters, or even the physical DPSs are fine as well. If you're using an Electro character, just make sure that they don't have the Pyro element so that you don't trigger Overload. In the Viridescent domain, it's a really easy domain, so just clump them up with Venti or Sucrose or the Anemo Traveler and just beat them down, nothing special. You do get a physical damage bonus and all, which is why I'm running a physical DPS, but elemental DPSs work fine as well. As for the Midsummer Courtyard, or rather the Thundering Fury domain, don't use Cryo characters because you get damage from triggering Superconduct in this domain, and since they're all Electro enemies, that also means that you shouldn't use Electro characters as your DPS. Pyro is recommended here because Overload does extra damage, because of the domain debuff, and Hydro technically works, it's just that you won't really benefit from triggering Electro charged because it still does Electro damage, but if you only have Child as your DPS or physical DPSs only, then it's fine too. The general strategy that you want to do in this domain is to just have a huge amount of CC, especially since the Electro Cicin mages teleport around constantly. So Zhongli, Venti, Sucrose, and even the Anemo MC are really good here, and you also can't get the enemies frozen because they have the Electro element on them, and so Superconduct also damages you if you inflict Cryo. Finally, for the domain of Guyun, which is the Retracing Bolide artifact domain, Superconduct is the only beneficial effect, and since this is a Cryo domain, you'll want to use Electro characters here. You'll also want a bow user because of the Rune Hunter's weak spot being up in the air. Hydro characters are okay as long as you don't have any Pyro characters, since triggering Vaporize also damages you. And don't apply the Hydro element on yourself because that will get you frozen in this Cryo domain. The general strategy here is to first get onto your bow user and don't stand too close to the Rune Hunter. If you stand too close to him, then he starts doing melee attacks, and you don't really want that to happen. You want him to fly up and reveal his weak spot, so that you can shoot it down to like stun him for a really long time. After he's stunned, just focus him down as fast as you can, as well as any other adds, and then the two cryo mages will appear. So use your electro skills to chip away their cryo shields. And again, you don't want to use pyro here unless you're like very prepared on heals or shields. I tried running with Diluc for this part, but sometimes he just like completely dies or gets really low. And that's actually just a lot more troublesome, like if I want to farm repeatedly. So since you technically can't use pyro characters, Zhongli is like pretty good here since Petrify goes through their shields, and it also helps with breaking them. But if you don't have him, then just bring other CC characters like Venti or Sucrose, or even the Anemo MC to group up the Abyss Mages once you get their shields down. To end off this video, I just want to say that, you shouldn't farm artifacts until you hit AR45, and I'll also be doing another quick video for the material domains and the strategies that I use there. So if you like this kind of content, do hit the like and subscribe to support the channel. And yeah, that's it for this video, and thanks for watching. Hopefully this has helped you with your farming.